Hello, welcome back. If you're tuning in, or if you're tuning in for the first time, thanks for watching. Riding around Goulburn on my Spyder motorcycle, and said I was going to make a series of videos about electric vehicles, so let's get straight into it. I should own up here and say at this point I have not ever driven an electric vehicle, and I'm not here to recommend any particular brand or model or anything like that. I'm just talking about electric vehicles in general, although in a later video I will come back and talk about some brands and models a little bit and give you some information about them. But again, I'm not recommending any brand or model, and I'm not being paid to do this. It's just my thoughts and opinions based on research and reading and watching YouTube videos and watching what people who review cars have said about various models and versions of electric vehicles that are available. Alright, it used to be said that there were three factors that would influence the successful uptake of electric vehicles as an alternate mode of personal transport than the internal combustion engine, or ICE vehicles as we're calling them now. Those three factors were price, range and charging, but there is a fourth factor now that is also worth considering, and I'll talk about the fourth factor first and then come back and explain in a bit more detail about the other three. The fourth factor is supply and availability. It appears that demand for electric vehicles is increasing. At this stage, let's not get carried away and say they're going to replace the ICE engine vehicles or ICE vehicles anytime shortly, because they're not. But more people are saying they would consider an electric vehicle, perhaps as the second vehicle for their house or for their family. But the problem is that the manufacturers, especially here in Australia, the brands that are sold in Australia are unable to supply enough vehicles either to meet that demand. And that's for two reasons. The first reason is that because Australia doesn't have any fuel efficiency standards, there's no incentive on the manufacturers of electric vehicles to supply more than a few models. That's changing because the government is, and I believe by 2024 or 2025 or something, going to have some actual fuel efficiency standards, so that will encourage manufacturers to supply more electric vehicles in order to be able to meet the standards. But at the moment, that's one reason. The second reason is that despite the factories now all being back to post-COVID production and so on, they are unable to produce as many cars as they'd like, and the reason for that isn't so much being able to make the components for the cars, body, doors, seats, whatever. It is that making the batteries, and the problem with that is that the minerals that are needed to make the batteries are fairly rare. They're hard to find, they're even harder to mine, and they're harder to refine, and then the issue is getting them from where they are to where the factories are. Ideally the battery factories will be close to where the mines are, but that's not the case. So the first issue is availability. Simply the manufacturers can't get enough batteries to satisfy the demand at the moment. The other three issues that I talked about, price, range and charging, are all being addressed, but they're still issues. By price, I think it's pretty clear what I mean, but when you consider that when the first electric vehicles like the Nissan Leaf came out, we were being asked to pay $60,000 or more for a car that had less than 200 kilometres of range, that had a bad design for its battery cooling system, and the battery degraded very quickly. Prices are coming down, that's true, and as I said, I will talk in another video about Chinese brands and prices, but at the moment the price of electric vehicles is prohibitive, in the sense that the average price, or the median price of a vehicle purchased in Australia, is something like $33,000 to $36,000. With electric vehicles costing $60,000 and more, you're sometimes paying double the price for the privilege of an electric vehicle, and so it's going to take a long time before you're going to save and recoup that money. The second issue is range. People want to be able to get in their car and go from wherever they are for 1,000 kilometres without stopping. They only want to stop very quickly to comfort stop, get some fuel and get going again. That's not realistic in any vehicle, though you can do it in, of course, ICE engines, you can do it in diesel vehicles and so on, but it's not realistic driving. You need to stop after a couple of hours for a break anyway. But at this stage, even with the range increasing and vehicles advertising 500 and 600 kilometre ranges, we're not going to get to the stage, I don't think, where we're going to get electric vehicles and go for 1,000 kilometres on a charge. And there are lots of reasons for that. One is simply, in order to get more range, you need a bigger battery. bigger battery is heavier, so therefore that makes the vehicle heavier. That means that you need to use more energy to move more mass. That's a simple law of physics. So just because you put a bigger battery doesn't necessarily mean you're going to increase the range dramatically. So range is an issue. The other issue, of course, is charging. More and more chargers being rolled out by Tesla, by the NRMA and the other motoring organisations and private companies and so on. But I see lots of videos on YouTube where people are driving electric vehicles on long distance runs, and with various apps and so on, they're told where all the chargers are, and they get to, or they're told that a particular charger is out of order, or they get there and it's not working. So at the moment there are probably not enough chargers. I don't know if there ever will be enough chargers. Remember once that there were something like 20,000 service stations in Australia, and now there are 6,000. But if you run out of petrol, you just get in the car and you hitch a ride somewhere, get a jerry can full of litre fuel and start again. You can't do that if you run out of electrons. You've got to call the tow truck. So there aren't enough chargers at the moment. There will eventually be sufficient, a greater number of chargers, but then they need to be in working order, and you need to be able to get there and charge and get going, rather than get there, see there's already a vehicle there in front of you, or perhaps even 2 or 3 vehicles waiting for you, like there can be at the service station. But of course the service station, they fill up and go through fairly quickly. That doesn't happen at the charging station. It takes somewhere 20 minutes to 40 minutes to charge up. And if there are 2 or 3 vehicles in front of you waiting to charge up, that's going to add a lot of time to your travel, and that's a discouraging factor. That's not to say that issue is insurmountable. It's not to say the issue of range is insurmountable. It's not to say the issue of price is insurmountable. And I will address, as I said, the price when I talk about some Chinese vehicles in a little while in another video. But they are all issues that are affecting the uptake of electric vehicles in this country. Well, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed my commentary so far and enjoyed the scenery in this video, and we'll pick up this discussion in the next video.